The ethical dilemma surrounding the Enron scandal involved the embezzlement of funds that were funneled in by investments. Enron was able to acquire more funds from current investors as well as attract new investors by reporting fraudulent financial gains. Enron executives, including Jeff Skilling, were pocketing these funds from the investors and thus stole the funds from Enron that ultimately collapsed it. While there were many actors in this situation, Jeff Skilling was one of the more prominent. Born in Pittsburgh in 1953, Skilling received his bachelor's in science degree in applied science from Southern Methodist University and later went on to get his MBA from Harvard. Upon graduation, he worked for McKinsey & Company as an energy and chemical consultant. In 1990, then Enron CEO Kenneth Lay hired Skilling to work at the Enron Corporation. Skilling was shortly after named chairman and CEO of Enron Finance Corporation and became the chairman of the Enron Gas Services Company in 1991. By 2001, Skilling had replaced Kenneth Lay as CEO of the Enron Corporation. Several relevant facts surrounded the Enron scandal. Enron was once ranked the 6th largest company in the world, with stocks peaking at $90.75 per share. Enron's growth was rapid. In 2000, the company's revenue reached $100 billion. During the course of business, Enron executives applied for and were granted government deregulation. What this meant was that Enron executives were allowed to have control over earnings reports that were given to both investors and employees. This allowed Enron executives to skew earnings reports by not showing losses in their entirety, and thus were able to solicit more investments from those who believed the company to be profitable.
So, mark-to-market accounting played a very significant role in enabling Enron to pull off such a massive fraud. But mark-to-market accounting in and of itself wasn't the only problem. There are a couple of other significant factors that ultimately led to the fall of Enron. The most important of these was the philosophy of Jeff Skilling. Jeff believed that big risk meant big reward and that failure was never an option. This philosophy showed in Enron's decisions. Enron was always known as an innovator, and they made a series of great investments that brought them to the center of the energy world. However, as it always does, Enron's good fortune eventually ran out. These bad investments would mean a decline in Enron's stock, which to Jeff was a personal failure. He decided that instead of taking losses on these failed investments, he would go ahead and book future profits due to mark-to-market accounting, even though he knew these profits would never come. Skilling continued to book non-existent future profits from failed investments in order to drive Enron's stock price up and secure credit for the company.
From all the facts you've heard so far, it's still hard to tell what the possible solutions are. Let's take a look at what Skilling's management theories and ethical principles were. Skilling believed in Darwinism management, and that fear and money were the only two motivators in the world. This gives good insight to why he felt the pressure to be successful and keep pushing the limits. While it could be said that Skilling had genuine passion to find new ways to be successful, at this point Enron had already gotten itself into a huge hole by using abstract financial accounting that did not represent their true position. So what could he do now? Option A, Enron could come clean and notify authorities of their true position and keep the hole from getting deeper. But that would mean Jeff admitting failure, which didn't correlate with his management theories or his personal desires to be successful. Option B, Enron could keep finding creative ways, like creating an energy crisis and even more abstract accounting methods to hide their previous mistakes. From what we know about Skilling's experiences and decision structure, it's not hard to identify which option he chose. Maybe Skilling thought he was being an innovative businessman on the verge of greatness at the cost of high risk. He couldn't admit defeat and also didn't want to yield the repercussions. The aftermath of Skilling, along with the others, led to the downfall of Enron within weeks. He was indicted on 35 counts of fraud, insider trading, conspiracy, and was convicted for 19 of those counts, a total of 24 years in prison. The consequences reached much farther than his personal punishments, but huge economical repercussions were created as well. Over 20,000 people lost their jobs, and their $40 million of life savings and retirement were gone. Enron's collapse is hugely rested on the decisions that Skilling made, and what was once the 7th largest company in the world is now one of the most prominent examples of fraud and bad ethics.